You know the days. Those days where you just come home, you're just angry and you need something to get you through it. Let's just say I've heard this from comedians and it's true. When you're a very white person, there's not a lot you can do about it when you're angry. What do white people do when they're angry? And then I thought about it. There is one thing that we're pretty decent at when we're really angry that we do. I think we should just take a moment to reflect on that. Just reflect. Good idea. Well, thank you there, Kaiser Chiefs. I think that just says the only things that we really know how to do is predict a riot. And riot is what white angry people do best. Is it still not funny? Is it not funny because it's not funny, or is it not funny because of the recent riots and Ames? I'm not really sure. Anyway, we'll give it a second chance. No? Still no? Nothing for you? Alright. Well, I don't know about that, but the soundtrack was provided by the Kaiser Chiefs, who have been around in English since, oh, how did that get there? Look at this, it's the Kaiser Chiefs. I was just talking about this. So, the Kaiser Chiefs, here's a new album by them. It's called Education, 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 and War, which you can't really see that there because, well, if you have really good eyes. Otherwise, not. I'm just going to put it on my forehead right there so you can see it. Anyway, the Kaiser Chiefs have been around since the early 2000s. And they're a band that has changed their name twice, actually. Most people don't actually know that they were anything other than the Kaiser Chiefs. They started off as an English rock band from Leeds, formed in 2000 as Parma. Actually, Wikipedia caught me up on this one. They were actually formed originally as Ruston Parva, which was an actual incorrect spelling of the town they all came from. They met apparently when they were 11 years old. Nick Hodgson, Nick Baines, Simon Ricks. They all met in St. Mary's Catholic High School in West Yorkshire. After leaving school, they went for university in '96, where they remained in the area and formed Ruston Parva. After Ruston Parva could not get a record deal, they switched it to just Parva and were able to get a record deal on the Mantra label. But that label soon fell through, and they were kind of left as damaged goods. As you can imagine, these kind of things don't work well to get new labels. So when people were trying to talk to getting them new signings, it was just like they were, a separate class system. It's like, no, we don't want anything to do with that. Your caste is below us. And they had to change their names to the Kaiser Chiefs, even though it's all the same members, because they had no one that would sign them. And it finally got someone to saw them at a club playing, and they were like, this is a band that needs to work. After that, it was all history. 2004, the Kaiser Chiefs put out Education, or Employment, rather. Education. Employment was their first album, and it is by far their best album. It was released in March 2005, with all the hit singles that they signed on to. Yours Truly, Your Angry Mob came shortly after in 2007, followed by Off With Their Heads, which was released in 2008. My favorite song, Never Miss a Beat, is released on that album. Since then, they took a bit of change, making a fourth album that you could select the tracks for yourself. Yeah, it was a strange thing. It was recorded as a make-your-own album where you would just take songs from their website and create your own album and sell it to other people. It was an interesting thing. However, the problem is the album wasn't very successful because it wasn't very good, and they couldn't sell it. After that, they finally put out the official track release and put it out themselves as Start a Revolution Without Me. And now, we finally get to, this one. But before that, we have this lead songwriter, who is also the drummer. Nick Hodgson actually left the band, and then they had to do what they do and carried on and made Education, 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 and War. So let's talk about the album, because, after all, that's what I'm here to do. The thing is, the Kaiser Chiefs have gone through, I like to call the Kings of Leon scenario, because the Kings of Leon, as they so famously say, had to use somebody to write their songs. When their songwriter, original producer, helper left, they were struck with this odd problem of not being able to write their own music anymore. And I honestly think that happened to the same thing that happened with the Kaiser Chiefs, because after 3 catchy indie rock albums, drummer and songwriter Nick Hodgson quit the band, leaving all the songwriting to singer Ricky Wilson, who, he didn't used to write songs. He was mostly the singer and lyricist, but much like the Kings of Leon, as I say, this would only leave without much success, because that interesting way of making an album in 2010 was interesting but not successful. So they decided to change it up again, and this album, it is a few steps up from Start a Revolution Without Me, because that was a really bad album. But, I don't know. Unfortunately, it's still not great. It isn't. It's full of a couple singles that make it okay, but their last album was plagued by unfortunate bad music and terrible songs can't be sold, no matter how cool they are. This album is a step up, but it's still not the same Kaiser Chiefs. The Factory Gates, the first song in here, opens up with the sound of seagulls. It's interesting. It leads into a really catchy song, actually. It sort of sounds like they're going back to the employment days right away off the start, and then it's a super catchy song that is one of the best songs on here. It's, it's one of the things they do the best. It's one of those shout-along chorus indie rock songs that you just want to hear from the Kaiser Chiefs. I predict a riot, or Ruby, 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 or never miss a beat, off with their heads. It's just kind of stuff they do well. Coming Home, it's an attempt at an arena-wide epic sing-along like a Coldplay or U2 or, I don't even know, Paul McCartney-esque, but it just doesn't do it for me. Some people really like this song, actually. It just sounds like, super over-the-top pomp and circumstance raining down from the heavens, oh, glory be to this song kind of thing, and it's just, I'm not digging it. Following that, we got Misery Company, which is actually the lead single on the album, and lead singles is where Kaiser Chiefs thrive, because they know how to write a catchy lead single. They have on every album. Even this last crap album they wrote in 2010 had Little Socks, which was really actually an awesome song. So, this is a really catchy song, and it's fun to sing along to, so you just gotta get into it. I don't know, it momentarily distracts from the lackluster of the whole album, but slightly, even so, it's still not enough. Following that, Ruffians on Parade is another fun little indie rock song, but it's about really dissatisfactions of living in the 21st century and unsuccessful governments. So it's like, they go from, I predict a riot, I'm angry at the government, let's get out there and rule the world, to, I don't like what you're doing and you should stop. Please? I'm unhappy. Don't do that. So it's like, you can even tell in the style of their lyrics that it's been a change from their go-getter phase. After Ruffians on Parade, you got Meanwhile Up in Heaven, which is so Christian rocky. If you watched my blogs at all this year, you've known I've had a really rough time this year with Christian rock albums just hating me. And I'm done defending it, so it doesn't work. It misses the mark by a lot, dragging on for 5 minutes upwards of, and it's driven as a very distinct sounding electronic keyboard it's driven by, but it doesn't do anything for it. It just drags on. One more last song starts off with a very catchy guitar riff, and it's a huge over-the-top fun chorus, but overall it's not a half-bad song. The problem being is that when you get to the chorus, it just gets to be like boring filler again. You're like, what? You had this interesting thing going, and then it just sort of faded into nothing. It was like, oh, that's just the same some more. Why? I don't get it. Why they had this interesting sound and they just, nope. The next song, My Life, is a true standout of the album because it sounds different than most of the record. It uses an electronic keyboard like others, but it isn't the only sound on the song. It just has, I don't know, there's something about it. It's my personal favorite song on the album because it just sounds like an indie catchy rock song, and it doesn't go over the top, it doesn't get boring, it doesn't distract, it just works. We get to number 8, we get to Bows and Arrows, which is one of 3 songs that fall into the war part of the education, and war part of the album. It starts off strong with an interesting guitar line, and it's built up with this creative build in the vocals that lead to a really interesting chorus, and then all of a sudden the chorus is boring again. So it's like, fun, 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 ooh, that's cool, oh, what happened? I don't like that. So, I don't know, choruses, guys, you're good at this. Why are you failing on the choruses? Cannons is the second song on the War trilogy, and it sounds like channeling Devo, actually. It's got the satire, it's got the crazy over-the-top 80s zany keyboards, it's got the really good song intro, actually. It's grown on me a lot. It even includes a famous Tony Blair speech in the middle of the song, which is a little weird, but, whatever, it works. The problem being, even with this good song, there's the unfortunate part where I have to say the problem being, it's a bit long. It clocks in at 6.5 minutes and takes away from its initial charm as a fun indie rock song when it just won't end. And the last of the War trilogy is Roses. It's a serving, closing ballad that's fitting for this album, and it's not bad, but it doesn't add or subtract. I don't know, the sad truth about this is before the departure of Nick Hodgson, that they have been a great band. They had a great debut of Employment. They were able to stay relevant and fun due to their live shows and lead singles that are amazing. Why don't you go to school? I don't know. It's fun to sing along to them. The album is no different than, it's just, this album has Misery Company and other couple of singles that are really standouts, but the rest of it falls flat. Hopefully this isn't, the end of the Kaiser Chiefs. And his stint on the UK's The Voice is helping him sell records because they need it. But hopefully Ricky can get back and make some fun songs like he used to because, even with all that said, I still think it's an improvement from their last album. Disappointing, but they can do better. So I'd hope to see them do better. All right, so I say 3 stars. It's about average. Thanks for listening.